Hi, this is Miss SP Nsindane coming to you on Breedroot Educational Services doing the online classes. So this is life sciences. We are going to focus on the female reproductive system, okay? So what we're going to talk about first is sexual intercourse, ne? Before we go to anything, what we're going to focus on talking about is sexual intercourse, okay? So we are going to focus on sexual intercourse. Now, what is sexual intercourse? No, I'm going to just highlight on this part because I think you've learned about it. So it's just a brief summary of what sexual intercourse is. Okay, so sexual intercourse is when a male puts his penis inside the female vagina, and then the male moves the penis inside the vagina to stimulate the release of the sperm. Okay, so for the sperm to be released, the penis must be stimulated in some sort. Okay, and then the walls of the vagina, they produce fluid to help lubricate the movement. Okay? So they produce some form of semen to help lubricate the movement. Okay? And then males will usually have something which is called an erection. Okay? So what is an erection? Now, an erection for sexual intercourse to take place, the penis needs to fit inside the vagina of the female. Blood flows quickly into the spongy tissue of the penis. Then thus the penis tissue becomes firm, and then the penis swells and increases in size until it is hard, and then it inflates. Okay? So this is basically what we're going to talk about, what we talk about in sexual intercourse. Okay? So now we're going to go and talk about our main topic today, which is the female reproductive system. Okay? The female reproductive system. So,
all night and morning, girl, I'm on it. I know how to make you feel. Deep inside, I know you still fuck with the king. Yeah, I'm on it. I know how to make you feel. Deep inside, I know you still fuck with the king.
And then this tube-like, it's a fallopian tube, which is also called an oviduct. We also have the uterus, and then we have the uterus wall. We have the cervix, which is the opening of the uterus.
Hello,
yeah.
No one is available to take your
And then
call.
we have the
Please
rectum,
leave a
which is the
message
part
after the
of
tone.
the large intestine in the digestive tract. We also have the anus here. We have the vagina. We have the urethra. We have a clitoris. And then lastly, we have a bladder, which stores urine. Okay, so those are the organs that we usually talk about when we are talking about that. Okay, and then we are going to go into detail on the female reproductive system. Okay, so here we have a fallopian tube, as I have previously stated. Okay, so these tubes that you see here are called fallopian tube. So what are they here for? It is a muscular tube that links the ovary to the uterus. Ne? It makes the egg to it moves the egg to the uterus by muscular contractions and the beating of cilia. Cilia is found here at the surfaces of the fallopian tube so that the egg would move more smoothly. Okay, and then we have an ovary, which is the ovary thing that you see here. It's in an ovary shape. Okay, so it's an organ that produces the egg cell and sex hormones, which are estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so we are going to talk about these hormones further as we go along our lesson. Okay, and then we have a cervix, which is an opening here that you find between the vagina and the uterus. It's an opening at the beginning of the uterus. Okay, it is usually very tight, but once a person gets pregnant and then they giving birth, it contracts and opens up. Ne? And then we have a vagina. Now, a vagina, it's a passage between the uterus and the outside of the body. At birth, the baby moves out of the mother's vagina. Ne? They move through this passage. Ne? Okay, and then we have the uterus. we have the uterus. This is the uterus. This is, you see the spaces here inside here, that is the uterus. Okay, now the uterus has got an endothelium lining. The technique of an endothelium all depends on the type of hormone that is being released at that particular time. Okay, we're also going to go further into details about that during our lesson. Okay, and then we have the muscle wall of the uterus. Okay, we have the muscle wall of the uterus. So I think that's basically summarize everything about the female reproductive system. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the unique human characteristics of some aspects of reproduction. Particularly, we are going to talk about puberty. Okay, we are going to talk about puberty. Okay, so we are going to talk about the changes that occur during puberty, and later on we're going to talk about the hormones that are responsible for that particular change to occur. Okay, so in females we have certain changes, and also in males they have certain changes. So we're going to talk about the changes that occur in females. Okay, so in females, let's start with the face. You may get pimples, ne? Females may get pimples, which is a sign of their maturity or their puberty beginning. You sweat, your armpits becomes to sweat. That's where you start applying roll-ons or things that are going to make sure that your armpits do not smell. Okay, and then we have the height. You start to become tolanyana, and then your breast develops. You start to feel some hard thing that you find inside the breast, and then in Zulu we call that suyahlosa. So they do that. You start to develop breasts. Okay, and then the hair grows under the armpits. They grow in your legs and in between your legs. Okay, and then lastly we have menstruation. Menstruation only occurs in females, ne? They only occur in females. So that is where your period starts to begin. Menstruation is also called periods, ne? So that is where your periods starts to begin. So the age on where periods can begin, it differs on how your body usually takes to mature and all those things. So it can start at an early age of about 9 years. Others get their period at 9 years and going upwards, ne? So it all depends on your body, actually. Okay, and then we have males. So now the changes that occur in males is that their heights, they become very tall. They also get pimples. A high number of males get pimples during puberty, and then your penis and testicles, they start to become bigger. So males have penises which start to become bigger, and their testicles also start to become bigger, and then their voices become deeper. Okay, so they are born with those little tiny voices, and but then as they grow, their voices start to become bigger. Okay, so we are bold, and all those things. And then their armpits also sweats. Okay, and then a number of places in the male's body usually have hair. So your face will have hair, your arms, your legs, your chest, your armpits, and in between your legs. So when we compare to the hair that grows between females and males, males have a higher number of places that grow hair. Okay, and then now we are going to talk about the hormones that are responsible for these changes that occur during puberty. Okay, we are going to talk about that. Okay, so this is an image that I took for you guys, which is going to summarize everything about the hormone changes in the body. Okay, so we have the brain here, and then we have the pituitary gland. We are going to talk about these two parts as we go along the year. Okay? Throughout the year, there is a section which is going to talk about the hormones that are being secreted, particularly by the pituitary gland and other organs also. Okay, so all of the sexual hormones that are released, they are all released by the pituitary gland. Okay, so it's the brains that tells the pituitary gland to secrete that particular hormone at that particular time. Okay, so we have a growth hormone, we have a growth hormone here. Okay, now what does the growth hormone here does? I think that is obvious. In females, it targets the whole body, and then what is it function as rapid growth in height. Okay, and then in males also it targets the whole body, and that function is also a rapid growth in height. Okay, so usually men become taller than women. Okay, usually we do have some tall women, okay, in the world, but usually it's men who become taller than females. Okay, and then in both of the male and female, we do have luteinizing hormone and a follicular stimulating hormone, which is punctuated by LH and FSH. Okay, so now in female, LH, what does it do? It targets ovaries. Okay, so the function of it in the ovaries is that an ovary triggers ovulation, and then corpus luteum starts to produce progesterone. So when more LH is being released in the body, that triggers ovulation. Okay, that triggers ovulation, which is also called menstruation. Okay, and then the follicular stimulating hormone, it targets also ovaries. And what does it do? An ovary produces a mature ovum and then starts to produce estrogen. So it is responsible for production of a mature ovum. Okay, and then we have a progesterone and estrogen. I think you'll remember just in the beginning of our lesson we talked about these two hormones, and then I said we're going to go into detail to it a little bit further on our lesson. So what does the progesterone target? It targets the uterus lining. So what it does is that it keeps the endothelium lining of the uterus intact to allow the embryo to implant itself. So when there is a high percentage of a progesterone in a female body, you must know that the endothelium lining is very thick. Okay, it is very thick to allow for the embryo to be properly implanted in the uterus. Okay, and then we have estrogen. Now estrogen targets the whole body. What does it do? It is the secondary sexual characteristics. So it is responsible for breast development, and then sex organs develop, hips widening, and body hair grows. So this estrogen is usually the higher percentage of estrogen is usually the reason for all these changes that you see during puberty, okay, in females. And then let's go to males now. Okay, so as I said before, the brain is going to tell the pituitary gland to secrete these hormones. We already talked about the growth hormone. So now, luteinizing hormone, what does it do in males? Okay, so it targets our testicles. So you will see that the luteinizing hormone and the follicular stimulating hormone targets our sexual organs. Okay, so it targets our testes. Now the testes will produce a sperm. So LH is responsible for the production of sperm in the testicles, in the testes, I mean. And then we have a follicle stimulating hormone, which is FSH. Okay, now FSH now also it targets any testicles. Now the testis produces a testosterone. So the function for FSH is to produce testosterone in the testes. Okay, now the FSH produces another hormone. The FSH produces another hormone. Okay, so FSH is a hormone. Also, testosterone is a hormone which is responsible for producing what? For producing a sperm. Okay, so FSH is a hormone which also produces another hormone in a male body. Okay, and then the last one, the last hormone that we have is testosterone. Targets the whole body. Now it is the secondary sexual characteristics. Now the voice depends, the sex organs develop, muscle develop, body hair grows. So it has a similar, not exactly role, but a similar role to estrogen on what it happens in the female body. But here it's responsible for the changes that occur in males. So it's responsible for most of the changes that occur during a puberty. Okay, so that is about it. That is the hormone change during puberty. Okay, and now we are going to talk about menstruation cycle and hormone control during the menstruation cycle. Okay, but first we are going to talk about the development of an egg, how an egg is produced. Okay, firstly we have a corpus luteum. We have a corpus luteum. Now what does the, let me just go back here, corpus luteum. Okay, firstly we're going to have a primary follicle, primary follicle, and then we have a primary oocyte, and then we have a secondary follicle that produces estrogen. Okay, the secondary follicle that produces estrogen. So now we going back to the hormone changes. Do you remember I talked about estrogen? So now it is produced where? It is produced at the second follicle. Okay, and then after that, the secondary follicle will grow and grow and grow, and then if implantation did not occur, if the female did not get pregnant, ovulation will occur. Okay, so now the ovulation occurs in the secondary oocyte is released. Secondary oocyte is released during ovulation, and then we have a developing corpus luteum, which is developing corpus luteum. The corpus luteum now, it produces the progesterone. Corpus luteum is responsible for the production of progesterone, which is to keep the endothelium lining intact, as I talked before, as I have talked about it before, saying that the progesterone is responsible for the thickening of the endothelium lining. Okay, so yeah, and then let's go into detail about the menstruation cycle. Okay, let's first talk about the hormones which are responsible for menstruation. Okay, the hormones, we have progesterone, we have estrogen, we have a follicular stimulating hormone, and then we have luteinizing hormone. Okay, it is represented by capital letter P, O, FSH, and ELH. Okay, so let's talk about the first stage, which is menstruation. What happens during menstruation? Do you remember I said before the secondary oocyte is released during menstruation? The follicle is released. So during menstruation, it happens between day 1 to day 5. Menstruation occurs between day 1 to day 5, and then from day 5 to day 18. To day 18 is the fertile days, where a female is most fertile, meaning that a female is more likely to get pregnant. Okay, and then the ovulation and fertilization are possible as early as day 7 and late as day 29. Okay, so what happens during these days? During menstruation, the thickening of the endothelium starts to decrease. It decreases. At the same time, what happens in the ovary is that the follicle, it grows. After menstruation, it starts to grow in preparation for ovulation. So now for ovulation to occur, there must be a high percentage of luteinizing hormone. Okay, the luteinizing hormone is responsible for ovulation. Okay, so one must know that if ELH is high, FSH is low. If FSH is low, ELH is high. Okay. Now during the ovulation, there will be the corpus luteum forms and all those things, and then it gets released. So what happens to the endothelium is that the wall is more thicker. It becomes more thick because as the corpus luteum develops, it releases more progesterone, which in turn thickens further the endothelium. Okay, and then looking at the hormones. Now, during the thickening of an endothelium, as I said before, the progesterone is high because the corpus luteum is releasing more progesterone. And then in turn, more estrogen is released. So when there's a higher number of progesterone, the estrogen is lower. When there's lower estrogen, the progesterone is higher. So progesterone is inversely proportional to what? To estrogen. Do you understand? By inversely, I mean when something else grows, the other one decreases. Okay? And then this is for a preparation of implantation. And then after day 28, if implantation did not okay, if fertilization did not okay, then it goes back to our first stage, which is what? Which is in menstruation. Which is what? Which is in menstruation. Okay. So, in menstruation, reproduction in females is controlled by a hormone estrogen and progesterone, which the ovaries produce. And then menstruation cycle is monthly hormonal cycle. So it occurs every month. Menstruation occurs every month. Ovulation release the ovum from ovary. For ovary, it's around day 14. So from day 14, an ovary is released. Okay. So yeah, that's about it on our female reproductive system. Okay? So in just going further, we have something which is called contraceptives. Usually usually there are a high number of contraceptives in females. So a contraceptive is a procedure that prevents a female from falling pregnant. So we have natural methods, we have barriers methods to stop the sperm from reaching the egg, and we also have a chemical method to stop the female egg from being produced. Okay, so forms of contraceptive, we have Depo, which is used for 12 weeks, which it is a hormone that is injected in your body. It's either in your arm or in your butt. So it is injected, and then it has a hormone which is inserted in order to prevent any ovaries from either forming, or also to prevent to produce a thick thing in the fallopian tube, so that the egg will not be fertilized by the sperm. Okay, and then we have other forms of preventing pregnancy permanently, which is sterilization. It's preventing pregnancy permanently. Now in males, a method which is used is a vasectomy, which involves cutting or tying the tube leading to the testes. So when a male will have a vasectomy, usually they will freeze their sperms if in the future they will want to have children, and then they will have their testes either cut off or just tied. So there will still be a production of semen, but the semen will not have sperms, because the sperms comes from the testes. Now, if the testes are cut off, there will be no sperm which is produced. So the semen will still be there, but it will have no sperm. Okay, so yeah, that's about it on today's lesson. Thank you for tuning in. Till next time.